Maybe you just don't know, but you want to know. Maybe you're a Christian, and in all the turmoil of coronavirus, all what happens in life knocks you. And so you end up with even more questions. Maybe you've never had anything to do with God until something goes wrong. And I know some of my friends will, if I talk about Jesus, if I talk about God, they're very polite and don't tell me to go away, but they'll say, that's good for you. I'm glad you've got a belief, but that's not for me. But when things go wrong, when there's a pandemic, or when something goes horribly wrong in their life, God suddenly gets the blame. Or, where is God in all this? Is the question that comes. So maybe those watching on Facebook or Twitter or Periscope or YouTube, maybe you don't know God. Maybe you have those questions. Maybe you have those questions here this morning. Maybe you've been hurt in church by people, not by God. Maybe you've been hurt in church by people. Maybe they've forced you in that sense to question stuff. Maybe you've not liked how you've been treated. Maybe you've got family who go to church and they've hurt you. And so you've decided to walk away from God because of his people. My hope is I can help you see past all these things. My hope is that I can help you see past these things and see God. Because we're supposed to get out of the way of ourselves so that people can see God in us and not just see us trying to be God. I can only talk from my experience of God. What I know to be true, because that is what I have seen. That is what has happened to me or around me. And I can only speak from that. That my God is good, that he loves us, and that everything from God is good. James 1:17 says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. One thing I want to make clear at the beginning of this is that this is not a Bible study. It's not a Bible study into the existence of God. I have 35, 40 minutes, and I'll probably take up more than that. This one isn't so pressured, this service, because the last service we start at 9:15 and we have to finish by 10:15 so that we can get this service, the room and church, cleaned down and ready again for another service at 10:30, where this is the last service. So we've got time. But it's still not going to be a Bible study. So let's just look at it. Let's take a step back from what we think or have heard or perceive of God. Because that's important. I've learned something in the week from a great guy, a pastor called Paul Scanlon. And he said, you have to unlearn to learn. It is more important to unlearn things. Because the way I look at that, what it made me think of was this. That when we say yes to Jesus, okay, if we just plonk what Jesus teaches on top of everything that we have gathered throughout life, then what we end up with is our own religion. We end up with what Jesus says on top of what we know to be true. Or is it true? But Jesus brings a truth to our life. And so what we have to do is unlearn things. It's like when you move to a new house. You clear what's in there to bring your own clutter. Okay? To unpack, to pack that house, you have to unpack another house, don't you? When we learn something new, first we have to unlearn the old stuff so that the new stuff can create what it needs to in our heads. Have you ever turned up for a meeting? Have you ever turned up for, I don't know, meeting with a pastor or boss or a friend or a colleague, and on your way to the meeting, what you've done is laid out the conversation that's going to happen in your head. And so you lay out the conversation, the questions, the accusations that may come your way, and what you do on the way to the meeting, maybe even if it's days before, you start working out the answers that you're going to give. You're going to start working out the arguments of why you did what you did, or why you thought, or why you said what you did, before you even get there. And when you get there, you're not ready to listen. All you're ready for is an argument. I was saying this in the first service. I've had pastors who have been my leaders, and I may have preached, I may have said something, I may have been dealing with something with someone, and they want to meet with me. And so in my head, I start running through all the things that I might have said wrong, that I might have done wrong. Even when someone in church says, "Oh, can we meet you?" So is there something? Is there something that we've done? Is there? And I start running through. So at the beginning of the conversation, you're not actually listening, because you're waiting for the questions that you've already put in your head. And you've already got the answer. So even though they may be saying, "I thought what you said, yeah, but," was really good. But you're all ready for the fight. And so this morning I want us to clear away any questions, anything that we may have already thought about God. I want us to clear that away, because I want us just to hear. And you know what? If you're in an argument later, that's fine. That's good. Argue with God, because He's bigger than anyone. But I want you to clear your minds this morning. Let's just stand for a moment. Let's just stand. And I want to pray. Just lift up your hands, your eyes, your heart to God this morning. Lord, I come to you this morning. Lord, and I want to clear any preconceived ideas. Even of what I might say this morning. When I talk about the existence of God, is God real? Lord, I want you to pray this, that Lord, anything that's been happening during this week, anything that may have happened this morning, I don't want that to be in my mind. I don't want that to be in the way of what you might want to say to me this morning. Because what you have to say to me this morning is important, because it will build my life. It will help me in this life to reach out to others, to help others see you in every circumstance. So Lord, I give myself to you right now. Lord, I'm not worried about the keys, where they are, if I've left the oven on, lights on. What did he say to me yesterday, my husband or my wife? What did she say? Have I got enough money in the bank to pay the bills tomorrow? Whatever it is this morning, just clear your mind, ready to hear the word of God. Amen.
Amen.
You may sit. So what if this is the first time you think of this? Where am I from? How did all of this world come to be? Let's not get hung up on the arguments against maybe what you perceive these people to be about, what Christians have done in the name of Jesus, what you think we believe as Christians. For if you come with your mind already made up, as I said a minute ago, you'll never hear why you should believe. Let's go to the Bible. So Genesis 1. I need to stand in the light because I've left my glasses in the office. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light from the darkness... Saw that the light was good. I'm reading in front. And God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. And God said, "Let there be no expanse in the midst of the waters. Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it be separate from the waters from the waters." And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters, and that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, which according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and years, and let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens." So God created the great sea creatures, and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their kind." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. I love the fact that after everything that God made, and God saw that it was good, that means that it wasn't a that'll-do job, but that God made it perfect. He made you and me perfect. He made this world perfect. Sustainable. He made this world to be beautiful, and he made you and me to be beautiful. So there are many strong philosophical and logical arguments and reasons to believe in God. The Bible doesn't make elaborate arguments for the existence of God, but it does tell us how we can find God, how we can know that God exists. In fact, the Bible tells us how we can know God exists because of what we see in this world. All the way through Genesis 1, we saw what God created. And when we look around in this world, we can see what God has created. When I look around this room, I see what God has created. There is no one that is an accident. There is nothing that is an accident. God made you with a purpose and a plan. Sometimes our parents don't plan us, but that doesn't mean that God hasn't planned us, because that God has a plan and a purpose for each one of us. God knew every hair on our head before we were born, before our great, I can't keep saying it, grandparents were born. God had a plan and a purpose for you today, to be here today, to live life for God today. So the Bible tells us how we can know God exists, because of what we can see in this created world. Psalm 19, 1-4 says that the heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words whose voice is not heard. Their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set a tent for the sun. Romans 1:20 says, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse. These verses show that there is a purposeful intelligence who created this world. That it was made on a purpose, with a purpose. Which shows that there's intelligence. Which shows that that we are created. That there is a maker. That someone thought about you when you were created. Never that'll do. It's a teleological argument for the existence of God. And that's because it shows both purpose and intelligence. It didn't just happen. There is too much that works for there not to be a creator. The same with our bodies, and we'll get on to all of this afterwards. So a couple of things from Genesis 1. In the beginning, in the first verse, in the beginning, God. There was nothing. There was nothing. And God spoke. spoke it into creation. And this is the name of the one who existed before anything. I am. God says, I am. There is no beginning and there's no end. He just is. I am. Exodus 3:14 says, God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. It shows no beginning, no end. He is God. He is I am, the creator, the maker of all things. And he is good. Do you know that this morning? He is good. He is our creator. He is our God. Next few words say, created the heavens and the earth. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I want you to understand that that is a boom moment. A drop mic moment. Our God created the heavens and earth. Boom! It's the first verse in the Bible. The first words. The first words. God, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That could do it for me, to be honest. In that sense of that I need to know that God exists. In the beginning, God, and He created. It's really weird looking out behind this because I'm quite cloudy. But it declares all things have a beginning, that nothing except God existed from eternity by chance or from the skills of anyone else. That everything, the whole universe, was created through the creative power of God. Romans 11:36 says, for from Him and through Him and to Him are all things. To Him be glory forever. Amen. And backing up what Emma said last week about us being the church. Acts 17:24 says, and I'll read it from the Message, and it says, the God who made the world and everything in it, this master of sky and land, doesn't live in custom-made shrines. This is our building. We are the church. We. The building facilitates the church meeting together. That's what the buildings are for. And the problem is, over the years, that the church, us, got so used to our four walls that actually we just stayed inside them. Actually, we're supposed to go outside of them and love our community, love our town, love our city, love our world. Because that's what the church is for. That's why He created us. That's why our God created us. Our God isn't about buildings. He's about people. You can't have a relationship with brick or cement. And if you do, we need to have a chat. But you can have a relationship with mankind. You can build relationships with mankind. You can only build buildings with brick and cement. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. Or as it says in Isaiah 34:11, the world was in confusion and emptiness. One commentary says this. It says, this globe at some period, having been convulsed and broken up, was a dark and watery waste for ages, perhaps till out of this chaotic state the present fabric of the world was made to arise. I like the picture of that. I've never been I have got a good imagination. Sometimes runs riot. But I love pictures. I love pictures. And I said in the first service, because Rob was here, who's an artist, and I said, mate, you need to paint me a picture, and I'll get to what I want him to paint me a picture of later. But me and Tammy have been going through the Bible in a year, and we've just finished through the book of Revelation. And I love the pictures that Revelation brings up, like the four riders on the horses. I love that. I love that picture. I love the thought of Abaddon coming out from the pit, and horses with scorpion stings and stuff like that. And I said to Tam one day, I said, I imagine being there to watch that. Not that I want to be. Yeah, Tammy wasn't as excited. I was. The whole thing of a battle scene. I'd love to. I don't want to be in the battle. I really don't want to be wielding a sword, because when I've played games like that, I always die. Because I'm wielding a sword and I've killed a few, and then I get done from behind because I'm not aware. I'm just attacking what's in front of me. Yeah, not what do you call it? Aware, spatially aware. I don't have eyes in the back of my head. I don't believe I need them. But yeah, where was I? There we go. Yeah. Where was I? There I was. Pictures. I love the pictures of it. So the Spirit of God moved. Literally continued brooding over it, like when a bird lays an egg and they're mothering it, or the dad sometimes sits on it as well. But that's what God is like with the earth. He sat there, making it, brooding it, creating the tree, creating grass, creating the animals, creating all the things of nature, and creating us. He took time. It sounds like a day, but we don't, to us, it'd be 1,000 a day in God's hands. When hatching eggs, the immediate agency of the Spirit by working on the dead and discordant elements, combined, arranged and ripened them into a state adapted for being the scene of a new creation. The account of this new creation properly begins with the second verse. But in the details of the process are described in the natural way an onlooker would have done, who beheld the changes that successively took place. It's an awesome picture when you think of it, that God would be putting the earth together, making all these different aspects of world, even to our atmosphere, even to what we call it that goes around, that protects us from the sun. What do we call it? Come on, there must be someone.
Atmosphere.
Ozone layer. Even to our ozone layer. God thought of everything. He thought of everything for you and for me. It can't be coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. There's God incidents. There's not coincidence. If someone has an accident in the middle of nowhere and get thrown off their motorbike or out of their car and they're laying in a ditch, it isn't just so happens that someone was driving by. It's not coincidence. They're God incidences. God incidents. Look at how the sun and the moon influence the tides. It's called, what is it called? It's called, where is it? The tidal generating force. That cannot be a coincidence. Oh, we just sprung up. Look at the stars. Look at the different constellations. Look at the way they are. They're beautiful. Look at that when you're not in a city. I love when we go to Tam's mum's and there's no light. What's it called? Pollution.
Whoa, Marianne's on it.
She's on it. There's no light pollution. So when you have no light pollution from a city or a town or a village, you can see the stars. Oh my word. They're amazing. They're beautiful. How they're in their place. Every star is in the right place. It's not an accident but design. How the sun lights up the day, how the moon lights up the night. The sun, one of my favourite things is when the sun, you know when you've got a cloudy day and then the sun breaks through. And you either see this one beam or you see like a scattered of beams just coming through. How can people deny that God exists when you see that? That's just amazing. It is stunning. It's beautiful. When I used to work, when I had my business and we'd be driving off to a job and we'd be in the van together and there'd be like 3, 4, 5 of us in the van. And you drive along and you'd be like, look. And none of them were Christians who worked with me at the time. And I'd be like, seriously guys, look, how can you not know that God exists when you see that? Just that alone. Just that alone. Where the light breaking through the darkness. Rainbows. It's been hijacked sometimes in our history. Rainbows. Not an accident. Shooting stars. You see, people will say that that's because of that. And there's a reason why it's a fault. But why is it a fault? Why isn't it pre-planned? Because I believe it's God showing off. When you see a shooting star, I think it's amazing. And I think it's just God showing off what he can do and what he's done. You can give me all kinds of scientific reasons for why things do what they do. But who created them? Who created the reasons that they do what they do? And it's not because they're imperfect, but because they were made with intention. Our God is intentional. He is purposeful. He is personal. Personally, I think it's so that we can see God in everything. Personally, I think it's because we can see the wonder of who he is. You know, sometimes we lose that innocence of things, don't we? And we take for granted all the things that happen around us. When was the last time Simon, who comes to church and he was at the first service, he's been looking after outside and he's coming to weed a little bit over that side tomorrow because of the rain and everything. It's just gone crazy. But he's been planting flowers and that around so that they all start to grow and it just looks really nice out in the car park. And actually, when was the last time you ever stopped and saw a flower open and stopped to take in the awe and wonder of that? I don't. But when was the last time you did it? Because that's a simple thing that we take for granted. But God created that. God created the plant. God created how that plant would work, that we would plant it, water it, see it grow, and then bloom. God did that. And it's amazing. When was the last time you stopped to see anything that God makes and look at it with awe and wonder? Because he did it for us. He did it for you and he did it for me. Nothing just happens. Nothing just happens the way you see it. Everything is in its right place to help the next thing happen. Of course, we as humans are messing up the planet, but that's been happening since the fall of man, starting with Adam and Eve. Yet another story, and maybe that'll be another week. We haven't got time for today. What about how our seasons work? How our amazing human bodies work? We didn't come from a fish or a monkey. And maybe that's for another day. Maybe you have a question on that. Look at the eye. I was reading this the other day and it just blew me away. So for those people that say that we just came from a fish or a monkey or an amoeba or whatever that we came from, we need to look at the eye. If we just look at the eye just for a moment, this is what I found about the eye the other day. Light enters the eye through the cornea. That's the dome-shaped surface that covers the front of the eye. From the cornea, the light passes through the pupil. From there, the light then hits the lens. That's the transparent structure inside the eye, which focuses light rays onto the retina. That's the light-sensitive nerve layer that lines the back of the eye, where the image appears inverted. That's the wrong way round. The optic nerve then carries the signals of light, dark and colours to the area of the brain, the visual cortex, which assembles the signals into images. That's our vision. And all that goes in so that you can see me behind the curtain. And you can see your children, you can see the things that God has created. All that, people cannot tell me that just happened. Because it takes too many coincidences for that to work. It's like our brain. Our brain is a magnificent thing. It tells us when to breathe, how much to breathe, how to see, how to move. Our hearing. It's like the first computer, or the computers now. They are designed. A computer couldn't just happen. And our bodies are more complex than a computer. There's so many different functions that it has to work for us to just live, let alone walk or move or drink or eat or anything else or speak. It has functions for us just to live. The Creator God made us through design, not accident. Our Creator God, His DNA courses through us. Just look at the people who invent things, people who are creative. That is because of the DNA of God runs through His creation. You know, when God took the time to design each one of us, He did it out of love. He poured Himself into us. He could have made it easy for Himself. He could have made us robots that would just love Him. But He didn't want that. He made us to have that choice whether to love Him or not. Because you can't have a relationship with a robot. You can have a relationship with someone that chooses to love you. What fun would marriage be if you just married someone that you forced to marry you? You imagine that, can't you, ladies and men? Wouldn't be fun at all, would it? I don't think there'd be any children out there if you were made to love someone. He gave us a brain so we could make up our own minds, because He wants us to choose Him. And when we see what He has created in this world, we can't help but want a relationship with Him. What's a relationship worth if there's no choice? And you have a choice to believe or not, to seek Him or not. As a Christian, you have a choice whether to seek Him further, not just go, oh, thanks God, yeah, thanks for that, I'm saved, whoop. you have a choice whether you go deeper into the things of God or not. For me, I've seen God at work in my own life and the lives of others too much to ever doubt him. I've seen him come through for me time and time again. I'll tell you a time that I doubted him, actually. I'll tell you one time that I doubted him and he gave me an almighty kick. Was 2017, and we've been diagnosed with cancer, and I didn't doubt God at that moment. Didn't doubt him through what do we call it? All the medication, everything. Didn't doubt him through any of that. I knew that God had a plan and a purpose for my life, and I never doubted him once. Didn't doubt him through my operation. Didn't doubt him after the operation when I woke up and Tammy was in, and a couple of our friends were in the ICU unit, and I woke up and they were at the foot of my bed, and I woke up laughing. And I never had any doubt. I doubted one moment. And I didn't doubt if God existed, I doubted his plan for me. And that was when the operation I had leaked, and it made my heart rate go completely crazy. And I watched my kids' faces as they came to visit their dad in the hospital, of like, oh, with all me bits hanging out everywhere, not bits, all the pipes and everything hanging out everywhere. Sorry, that was a really bad picture to paint in. I'm getting bad at this. Rock God the other week. Yeah, the rock God the other week, and now me bit. So anyway, and I watched my children's faces as they looked at me and saw their dad laying in the bed with everything, and it had got worse from when they'd come and see me after the operation. And my doubt was, my question to God, and I was angry, was, God, if this is your plan, why haven't I gone already? And God, how can my kids keep coming to see me in this way? Surely this isn't your plan for me to come in. You've seen me through everything else, and to be here like this. And God gave me a slap round the head later that evening, because I was having an argument with him while I was laying in my bed, to actually just say, I've got your kids. I've got you in my hands. Trust me. And he sort of gave me a bit of a wake-up call at that moment. But I've seen him come through for me time and time again. Is he real? Church, is he real? Yes. Oh, my goodness, he's real. Psalm 34 says this, of David when he changed his behaviour before Abimelech so that he drove him out and he went away. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul makes its boast in the Lord. Let the humble hear and be glad. O magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant, and their faces shall never be ashamed. This poor man, cried, and the Lord heard him, and saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. This is what I really wanted from this. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Fear the Lord, you his saints, For those who fear him have no lack. That means those who respect God have no lack. Our God is real. Our God is real, and he loves you. And he loves me. James, I read it at the beginning, James 1:17 says this: every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. That means our God is always the same. From the moment he's always existed. So he will never change. He will never change his plans. He loves us. He loves this world. That's why he created it. That's why he created you and me. And he has a plan and a purpose for each and every one of us, from the youngest to the oldest. He has a plan. He never changes. He always will love you. He will never let you down. He's never let me down. He will never leave you or forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. That means wherever you go, that you are a God carrier, that you have been created by God, and as a God carrier, that means he is with you wherever you go. Whether you go to work, whether you go to school, whether you go home, whether you go to the shop, whether you ever travel to the moon. That'd be awesome. Our God is with you. And his intentions and purposes for you are good. Because he is an awesome, wonderful, majestic, beautiful, powerful, almighty God. Does he exist? Yes. Yes. Oh my word, yes. He exists. And he is good. And he's done everything for me and you. And he did everything for me and you because he loves us. Even to the point of coming as a baby to rescue us from our sin. From our filth that we had put ourselves in. God didn't put us in. We put ourselves in it. Because we lost sight of how wonderful our God is. We lost sight of how beautiful our God is. We're going to take communion. Because I want us to spend just a moment remembering how wonderful and beautiful our God is. And what a sacrifice our God made for us. Not only did he create us, not only did he create us because he loved us, but then he also had a plan in place from the beginning, because he knows of our free will and our choice, that we wouldn't always choose him. We have a history of it. And so he sent himself as a man, his son, Jesus, to start the biggest, bestest rescue plan that could ever be. And so we take communion in remembrance of the body that was broken and the blood that was poured out for you and for me. And I've said this 100 times before, he would have done it even if it was just for you. Because you are his creation. So, thank you. Thank you. So you will see that you had a little tub thing put on your seat when you came in, and you've got 2 little peelings to do. If you just peel from the bottom, you'll miss the bread or the wafer. So there's two little layers. So a little plastic layer, little clear layer, and you'll get to the wafer. So let's take this together as we remember the body that was broken for us. Body that was nailed to the cross in the most horrific of deaths, but was nailed and broken for you and for me. And then if you manage to peel back the other layer without spilling it all over yourself. We drink of juice in remembrance of the blood that was poured out for you and me, for our healing. And healing comes in many forms. Sometimes healing comes in just going home to be with Him. Can we just stand for a moment? Let's just stand. As the guys come up to lead worship. Maybe we can pray. Let's just lift up our hands. You know, we're going to worship Jesus now, and we're going to pray just before we do. But we're not allowed to sing, which is quite a bizarre thing in itself. Unless you're going to sing in a mime sort of way, where you just do it quietly. You can do that. You can lift your hands, you can lift your eyes, you can lift your heart. Because worship isn't just about singing, but worship is a part of our worship. Singing is part of our worship to God. So maybe now, let's just pray, and the guys are going to lead us. You know, it's not about the noise factor, is it? The band are noisy enough. It's about the heart factor. So don't let the fact that you can't, I know we're Pentecostals, but don't let the fact that you can't make noise, you can clap if you want, stamp your feet, jump up and down. Just don't sing, because it goes 8 metres. But let your heart connect with Jesus. Let your heart sing. Let your heart worship our King. Lord, we bless your name. Bless your name. Let's just start to pray. Lord, we bless your name. You are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. You are everything that we need. You do give life, and you do bring light into our darkness. Lord of all, bless your name.
Restore every heart that is broken. keep lying. Our love. Because you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. So great in our lives. So we pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lives. So we pour out our praise to your name. Keep lying to our love. You bring light to the dark. You give hope. You restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. So great in our lives. So we pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lives. So we pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lives. So we pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lives. So we pour out our praise to your name. Bring it on, Jesus. We shower your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. Holy God, we shower your praise. Our hearts will cry. This bone will sing. Great are you, Lord. Oh, my cry. Holy God, we shower your praise. Our hearts will cry. This bone will sing. Great are you, Holy God, we shower your praise. Our hearts will cry. This bone will sing. Great are you, worship you with my mouth. I can worship you with my bones.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
With my heart, with my praise,
Yeah. Yeah.
with everything I am.
Yeah. Yes, Lord. Come on.
in our lives. So we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lives. So we pour out our praise to your name. Great are you, Lord. Nothing were more that will ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're our living hope. Your presence, Lord. I've tasted and seen of the sweetest of love, where my heart becomes free and my shame is undone. Your presence, Lord. Holy Spirit, you are welcome. Come flow this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God.
consecration room. So at this moment, we maybe do the offering normally. And there is a bucket near the door there. We're just trying not to hand the bucket around. So that makes it a bit strange again. But there's a bucket near the door, and if you have cash offering or a cheque offering and you want to put in, that's absolutely great. And also there's account details that are coming up on the screen. Awesome. That you can put straight in the bank or make a direct debit. No, bring that down. We have got a new software, but we're waiting for the new discs to come. Where normally you'd be able to do with a smartphone over the bucket, but it still entails passing the bucket around. So we've got some new discs coming this week, and I'll put the video out on WhatsApp and I'll do it on Facebook. That it will be beacons for the church. So as you come in, instead of having to go to the bucket, you can put the app on. It will recognise the beacon, and you just put the amount of that you want to give, and it will take it straight to our account. It's very secure, very safe. But I'll do a video about that. But if you want to give, as we just finish off, as the guys just lead us in the song, and what we've done in the last service, as the guys played us out, if we could, from the back row, start to leave, following the arrows round to go out that way, and don't forget to clean your hands as you go through, because I've forgotten the name of what we do. Sanitise, that's the word. Don't forget to sanitise as you go out the door. But if you'd like to leave that way, and then if you plan to give today and you had cash or a cheque that you wanted to give, please drop it in a bucket near the PA booth as you go out. It's been really great to have people back in the building today. It really has been great to be able to preach to more than 2 people and a couple of teddies. It's been great to see all your lovely faces and to hear the children. We really have missed that and missed the interaction with people. Gutted that we can't hug or shake hands or whatever today. But be blessed. Be the church that God created you to be in this coming week. Whether you're at work or whether you're at home or when you go to the shop, be the church that God created you to be.
These kings of glory that will fill you with His love, pumped with enduring of His soul's body blood. Touch is a reminder